SGC here, and we are back for a first impression, The Alienist, Season 1, Episode 1. This is an American period drama TV series based on The Alienist by Carr, and it's a 10-episode limited series, and it first aired on TNT, and then it ended on Netflix. So this stars Daniel Brühl, Luke Evans, and Dakota Fanning, and everyone else. Check down below. They're playing an ad hoc team assembled in the mid-1890s in New York City to investigate a serial killer who is murdering street children. So this series also incorporates the fact with fiction by including the characters that are historical figures. Theodore Roosevelt is one of the characters, and he did actually do work with police during 1895 to 1897. So, as the first episode, I dug this time. I mean, anything in the 1890s or just anything that's old. If you have seen all my other TV reviews, I always love it when they sort of do more period pieces in terms of sets and clothing and all that. But one thing that really irked me about this entire episode was how polished everything is. If I go back and watch, say, Ripper Street, Copper, Peaky Blinders, even Frankenstein Chronicles, everything feels a lot dirtier in those series. But here, everything feels a lot more polished, and I feel like I'm watching a TV show. As in, there are people on set and everything. So I don't know if that will change. I have heard that the rest of the season is a lot better than the first episode. The first episode is kind of like, but episode 2 and onwards is great. So I definitely will finish, or at least try to finish this. I mean, Daniel Brühl being in it, Brühl is in this, is also a plus. I also heard that Cary Fukunaga was supposed to be directing most of this, but then I found out something happened. He's only writing for a few episodes near the end of this season, so I hopefully will stick around until then. But in terms of actual acting and performance, I felt it was very lackluster. There was some cinematography that was really great, where they found the body at the beginning of the episode, but just everything felt a lot forced in terms of like, hey, we're set in this time, so let's establish everything. We have Luke Evans, who's just visiting the brothels, but he's an artist. And then you have Daniel, who's just like this weird, eccentric sort of doctor who's not recognized by anybody else, and he doesn't seem to mind. Usually I really dig those characters, but here I just felt like he was acting. Like I couldn't commit to the character, so something was there for me to just not get into his character. I felt like they try to replicate the whole Sherlock-like systematicness of how he analyzes things, and came off a little heavy-handed. And then you got Dakota Fanning, who plays the secretary. I think that was kind of cool to have that role. I mean, it really irked me, actually, when I was watching the opening credits, and there was like name after name after name was all men. And I know it's supposed to be historically accurate, but I felt like they could have somehow, shoehorned some more female actresses into the opening credits to sort of like round it up. I mean, Peaky Blinders had like at least 4 or 5 female characters, and you also, main character for men was pretty much around the same number, but granted they had more screen time, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, yeah, Dakota Fanning, I always forget that Elle Fanning and her are sisters, so I keep thinking they're two, or mistaking Dakota for Elle and Elle for Dakota, and thinking they're different people. But anyways, I enjoyed what she brought to the table in terms of just her curiosity and all that. So overall, I mean, it's funny how I watched Frankenstein Chronicles and I watched this. Obviously, they're two different things. You got Frankenstein Chronicles, who's a reimagining of the Mary Shelley book, and then you have this, which is sort of like the beginnings of mental illnesses in terms of treating them properly rather than thinking that they're just really weird and just not worth your while. So that definitely, in that lens, definitely worth a watch. Reminds of like Master of Sex, where they sort of tackle down the timeline where sex was actually studied rather than just like, oh, it's whatever. So definitely we'll continue to watch this season for that, and just to see what's going to happen, how they're going to figure out who the killer is and all that. So I look forward to it. I mean, someone said it was great, and I sort of believe it, and can't wait to check out the second episode to see if it changed that much. But seriously, the polishness really bugged me. Hopefully things will look a little bit more grittier, but I have my doubts. But overall, I hope that will not bother me to finish this season. And I'll definitely also check out the book, because I really am interested in the whole concept and the narrative of just this timeline, of just this case and just the characters and just their thought process. So anyways, for better or worse, I'm done this episode. We'll try the next one. And yeah, that's it for this first impression for The Alienist Season 1, Episode 1. Out!